This is a quick video on the do's and don'ts of design. When your composition is not balanced, interesting, overlapped, off the edges, varied, and using all kinds of formal principles of design besides intuitive ones, you're not going to have any success. It doesn't matter if your pictures are realistic, a landscape, abstract shapes, it's completely irrelevant what your subject is. I can't say it enough that subject really has nothing to do with design. Once you know how to make a design, you can pick whatever you want down the line, but for this, we want to cover the basics. Something we always want to do is unity with variety. That's the bottom line. But I wanted to just do a quick thumbnail type sketch. It can be vertical or horizontal or square. Whatever it is, you have to consider the shape. If your shape is, your overall surface is oval, you're going to have to deal with that. If it's rectangular, square, long, narrow, wide, all of these things are going to affect how you address this design. I'm just going to do some basic things and talk about basic goals for your design in every project. This applies to painting and drawing also. It applies to video game design, graphic design, fashion, even movement and 3D and all kinds of things. These are basics that every artist learns the first couple years of school usually. I'm going to go over as many as I can think of, and from now to the very end of the semester, these are problems I want you to avoid, and they'll ding your grade if you ignore them or forget about them or end up doing something that you just want to do and not doing it effectively. So let me just I'll do the do's and don'ts on here. So this is just a good little rule book thing. If you're using just black and white, you're not going to be dealing with variety of color or hue, but you're still going to be dealing with value, lights and darks, and line and shape and form and balance systems and all the things you would address in a basic design class. You'll take these principles towards your watercolor designs, your color theory designs, and I'll just kind of show here. So let's say you're doing I'll just do regular rectangles because usually that's the format of a canvas or a board or a piece of paper. They're not usually square. They're not usually long. So I'm just making basic rectangles. On the top, I'm going to do the don't. On the bottom, I'm going to do the do. And if you want to keep this picture handy, it'll help throughout your design. So this is the don't, and this will be the do. I'll start with the don'ts. Don't put something in the middle. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't put it in the middle unless you're doing symmetry, and even if you're doing symmetry, all the other elements apply. If you're doing symmetry, it has to be the same top, bottom, right, and left, or at least top, bottom, or side to side, or diagonal. That's what defines symmetry. But aside from that, never put anything in the middle. I don't care what it is. I don't care how cool it is. I don't care if it's a person. I don't care if it's a character. I don't care if it's a, leaf, ball, bug, whatever. This is not good. So don't do smack dab in the middle. What happens is your eye gets hung up. You have nowhere to go. You're trapped. And it's not controlling eye movement at all. If you want this shape, do place it elsewhere than the middle. So this is to the side. The other thing you want to do is repeat. So a don't is when you don't repeat, so you forget to repeat. A good rule of thumb is 3. Repeating 3 times is a nice even number. However, 2 works as well, but 1 is all alone, similar to this. Don't leave it at 1. You don't want to do one thing or one square or one. You have to have a relationship between that shape with another shape. The next thing you do want to do is control eye movement. You're controlling what the viewer sees. Here, the viewer's trapped in the middle and you're not doing anything for eye movement. Here, you can repeat. So now you're creating movement, but you don't want to be obvious and have a line of this. It's like you don't need to tell someone boom, boom, boom. You want to weave someone strategically through. Boom, 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 maybe here. So now without doing anything, we already have a good design. Partly because of 2 things. Big mistake here is giant negative space, which goes with smack dab in the middle. But this is just wasted. You're just wasting your paint. You're just filling all this stuff, and it doesn't matter how good you are at painting, how good the craftsmanship is, how good the edges are. If the design doesn't work, that's all out the window. It's like if something looks really good in a picture and then it has this sliver on the side because they didn't crop it right. And a trained eye goes straight there and you can't not see it. It's like that white sweater with a red tiny dot. Once you know it's there and you've seen it, you can't stop thinking about it. So you don't want to have something wrong before you even start painting, because you can't feature your work when your design is not working. Okay, so this is the key right here. 1, 2, 3. This is called successful design. Overlap. Overlap is everything. It's called proximity. It creates balance. It creates a place of rest. It's an anchor. And it also creates depth because something's in front and something's behind. You choose what's in front and what's behind. Then, this is another one, off the edges. Off the edges. If you don't have things off the edges, you're trapped in this strange dice-looking whatever it is. Corners aren't engaged, nothing's happening. And also, I mean, if you're doing symmetry here, you would do all kinds of stuff to make this work. You'd connect, you'd make it even, you'd have strategies to break up the negative space. But usually you're not doing symmetry because most people don't want to take a piece of carbon paper and spend all night long getting symmetry exact, unless you're doing a project that is absolutely has to be symmetry. But all that stuff is good, what I just did. This part, you don't want to have that in the don't section. This is going to be the do section. An anchor is really good, such as a large, like the globe, floating planets with the globe. This is called an anchor, and it also gives you variety, because our goal in design is variety and unity. There are many ways to create both. One way with unity is proximity, which is basically a cluster of things overlapping together. It creates an area of focus, it creates an area of balance, and it gives you depth. It creates unity because it pulls things together and makes them a whole in some way instead of fragmented. So proximity is a good one. Variety, and one way of getting variety is size. Different sizes, not just uniform. So a don't is uniform, obvious, simple, in an ineffective way. You can be simple and effective, but simple is harder than complex because you really have to strategize. Proximity, repetition, rhythm, movement, eye control, placement. Now with variety, you want variety in size, variety in placement, variety in value, variety in color if you're using color, variety in temperature. Is it cool? Is it warm? Variety in heights, variety in bottom, Like in a still life, you don't ever set up a still life on one table. You set it on levels so that it has unity, variety. The one thing you got to watch out for is variety between geometric and organic. That's difficult to manage, but it's possible. So what's happening here now is this. This is what we want. Interesting, abstract, negative space. The negative space is almost more important than the positive. People don't realize that. They're so consumed with the subject and so consumed with what's happening in the front, they forget this. So as you fill this area, now I'm seeing that this is sort of similar in size, so I'm going to make an adjustment and maybe create a shape that's organic but varied. Now I can't use that by myself over here, so I'm going to put another one, and I'm facing different directions to create more interest in the image. I don't want it to get too busy, so I'm just going to leave these. And now when I fill this, now I have this dynamic shape of negative space. Because it's not over here, it feels a little imbalanced, so I'm going to use color to balance. Now I might use green plus white right here to make it a lighter tint, and leave green plus black, or just green, blue-green, whatever, something green, so that now I have balance. Now I'm moving the eye, not just from shape, but from hue, which is color. I am going to do one more just because it balances, but maybe over here I'll do, again, even lighter. So I can do green plus white, green plus less white, and then just green. So now I'm balancing the negative space with this without having to create more negative space here. Now here, look at all this. Random, unrelated, geometric blob of space surrounded by a rectangle that has nothing to do with a circle. There's lots more to go over, but if you can remember throughout the class, nothing smack dab in the middle, definitely repeat, control the eye movement, overlap, let things go off the edge, and the goal being unity and variety. With all these elements, repetition, rhythm, variety of size, variety of color, value, placement. Hope that helps.